Good morning, everyone. Today, let us talk about Gagne's 9 events. Gagne's 9 events of instruction is a framework for designing effective instructional materials or lesson plans. It consists of 9 steps or events that help engage students. The first one, inform them of the objectives, stimulate recall of prior learning, present the content, provide learning guidance, elicit performance, provide feedback, assess performance, and enhance retention and transfer. Gagne's 9 events instruction is a framework also created by educational psychologist Robert Gagne to help teachers create effective learning experiences. It suggests that there are 9 key events or steps that should be followed in instructional design. Gagne's background: this is Robert Gagne in the year of 1916 to 2002, born in North Andover, Massachusetts. He is an educational psychologist best known for his conditions of learning, involved in applying an instructional theory to the design of computer-based learning. The first Gagne's instruction is gain attention of the students. It means ensure the learners are ready to learn and participate in activities by presenting a stimulus to gain their attention. It means that this event is about getting the learners' attention by using stimuli like videos, stories, or questions to engage their interest and focus on the topic. Of course, to gain the attention of the students, we need to use various techniques to engage them in our lesson. Methods for gaining learners' attention we can use to gain the attention of the students, like stimulate students with novelty, uncertainty, and surprise. And next is pose thought-provoking questions to the students, and also have the students post questions to be answered by other students. By that methods, we can we can gain the attention of the students. And second is inform students of the objectives. It means that we need to inform students of the objectives or outcomes to help them understand what they are to learn during the course. Provide objectives before instruction begins. This second Gagne's instruction that we need to clearly state the learning objectives or goals of the lesson, because it can help learners understand what they are expected to achieve by the end of the instruction. It is important to introduce to them the objectives for them to know what goal we need to achieve. Then, methods for stating the outcomes in our objectives. We need to describe required performance, describe criteria for standard performance, and learner establishes criteria for standard performance. And the next is stimulating recall of prior learning. It means that we need to help students make sense of new information by relating it to something they already know or something they have already experienced. It means that we need to activate the learners existing knowledge related to the topic. This helps them build connections and make the new information more meaningful. The methods for stimulating recall that example is ask questions about previous experiences, and then ask students about their understanding of previous concept. So in that way, we can activate the learners' existing knowledge related to our new lesson. Next is present the content. It means use strategies to present and cue lesson content to provide more effective, efficient instruction, and organize and chunk content in a meaningful way. Provide explanations after demonstrations. It means in this instruction, we need to introduce new information or concepts in a clear and organized manner. Use instructional strategies such as lecturing, multimedia presentation, or demonstration to convey the content effectively. Ways to present and cue lesson content. We can use also to present the content, present vocabulary, provide examples, present multiple versions of the same content, like for example video, podcast, or group work. And also we can use a variety of media to address the different learning preferences. Next is provide guidance. Provide learning guidance. It means that advise students of strategies to aid them in learning content and resources available. It means that we need to assess learners in understanding and applying the new information, provide explanations, examples, and demonstrations to help them grasp the material. Methods to provide learning guidance. For example, provide instructional support as needed, like as scaffolds. We need to use cues, hints, or prompts, then which can be removed after the students learn the task or content. Next is we can use also model varied learning strategies like mnemonics, concept mapping, role playing, and visualizing. And also we can use also an example in addition to providing example, like to help students see what not to do or the opposite of examples. Next is we need to provide case studies, analogies, visual images, and metaphors. Case studies for real-world application and analogies for knowledge construction. And for visual images is to make visual associations and metaphors to support learning. Next is elicit performance or practice. It means that activate students' processing to help them internalize new skills and knowledge and to confirm correct understanding of this concept. That it means we need to provide opportunities for learners to practice applying the new knowledge or skills. This can be done through activities, exercises, or simulations. So, ways to activate learner processing. First is elicit students' activities like ask deep learning questions, make reference to what students already know, or have students collaborate with their peers. Then also elicit recall strategies. Ask students to recite, revisit, or reiterate information they have learned. And facilitate students' elaborations, like ask students to elaborate or explain details and provide more complexity to their responses. And help students integrate new knowledge, provide content in a context-rich way, or use real-world examples. Next is provide feedback. It means provide immediate feedback of students' performance to assess and facilitate learning. It means that we need to give learners feedback on their performance. This can include positive reinforcement for correct responses and constructive feedback for errors or misconceptions. There are types of feedback. First one is confirmatory feedback. It means of confirmatory feedback is that inform the students they did what he or she were supposed to do. And the next is corrective and remedial feedback. It means is that inform the students the accuracy of their performance or response. And next is remedial feedback. Remedial feedback is direct a student in the right direction to find the correct answer but does not provide the correct answer. And then next is informative feedback. Provide information like new, different additions or suggestions to a student and confirms that you have been actively listening. And then next is that also informative feedback. This information allows sharing between two people. And the next is analytical feedback. In this feedback, it provides the students with suggestions, recommendations, and informations for them to correct their performance. Next is assess performance. It means we need, in order to evaluate the effectiveness of the instructional events, you must test to see if the expected learning outcomes have been achieved. Performance should be based on previously stated objectives. So it means that assess performance is we need to evaluate the learner's understanding and mastery of the content. We can use quizzes, tests, or project-based assessment to gauge their progress. Methods for test learning include we can use pre-test for mastery of prerequisites, use a pre-test for endpoint knowledge or skills, conduct a post-test to check for mastery of content or skills. And also, we can embed questions throughout instruction through oral, questioning, or quizzes, and also include objectives or criterion reference performance which measure how well a student has learned a topic. Of course, assess performance is also it is important also to evaluate the learners understanding if they really understand our topic. The last Gagne's events instruction is enhance retention and transfer to the job. It means that to help learners develop expertise, they must internalize new knowledge. It means that enhance retention and transfer help learners retain the information and apply it in different contexts, provide opportunities for practice, reinforcement, and application beyond the instructional setting. Methods for helping learners internalize new knowledge. We can provide a generating examples, create concept map, or outlines. By following these 9 events, instructional designers can create a systematic and effective learning experience that maximizes the learner's understanding, retention, and application of the content. Um, I have here an infographic design for you to easily understand and the sequence of the Gagne's 9 events of instruction. So this is the example infographic design. The first one is gain attention. Second, inform objectives. Third, stimulate recall of prior learning. Fourth, present the content. Fifth, provide guidance. Sixth, elicit performance. Seven, provide feedback. Eight, assess performance. And the last is enhance retention and learning transfer. Gagne's theory also emphasizes the importance of sequencing or organizing the learning materials in a way that facilitates understanding and retention. He proposed a 9-step process called the events of instruction, which outlines how instructional design should be structured to optimize learning. Overall, Gagne's theory of conditions of learning has significantly contributed to the field of instructional design and has been widely used to guide the development of effective learning experience. The next topic is Bloom's revised taxonomy. Bloom's revised taxonomy is a way of categorizing different types of learning activities and skills. It was developed by educational psychologist Benjamin Bloom and his colleagues to guide educators in creating effective teaching and assessment strategies. Bloom's revised taxonomy or taxonomy of cognitive objectives in the year of 1950s, developed by Benjamin Bloom. It means of expressing qualitatively different kinds of thinking. Bloom's revised taxonomy been adapted for classroom use as a planning tool and continues to be one of the most universally applied models. Bloom's revised taxonomy provides a way to organize thinking skills into 6 levels from the most basic to the more complex levels of thinking. In the year of 1990s, Lorraine Anderson, or the former student of Bloom, revisited the taxonomy. As a result, a number of changes were made. As you can see in these pictures, the original terms and new terms. In original terms, in the year of 1956 is from low order thinking skills to higher order from low order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills. In low order thinking skills or LOTS, it is the knowledge, comprehension, and application, while in higher order thinking skills are analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Those words are used noun. In the new terms, in the year of 2001, in LOTS is remember, understand, and apply. And HOTS is analyze, evaluate, and create. In 2001 or new terms is a verb form. As you can see, the difference between the original terms and new terms is that from noun to verb form. This verb form is usually we use to make the our objectives, to make the objectives which are knowledge, um, skills, and attitude. Next is the names of 6 major categories were changed from noun to verb forms, as you can see the pictures, and then as the taxonomy reflects different forms of thinking, and thinking is an active process, verbs were used rather than nouns. So active process verbs were used rather than noun. The subcategories of the 6 major categories were also replaced by verbs, and some subcategories were reorganized. The revision primary focus was on the taxonomy in use. Essentially, this means that the revised taxonomy is a more authentic tool for curriculum planning, instructional delivery, and assessment. The revision is aimed at a broader audience. Bloom's taxonomy was traditionally viewed as a tool best applied in the earlier years of schooling, like for example in primary and junior primary years. The revised taxonomy is more universal and easily applicable at elementary, secondary, and even tertiary levels. The original taxonomy in the year of 1956, the 3 domains of learning. I know that you are all familiar the 3 domains of learning, which are cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive is all about mental skills or knowledge, while affective is a growth in feelings or emotional areas, or also known attitude. Psychomotor is in manual or physical skills, or also known skills. Instructional designers, trainers, and educators often refer to these 3 categories as KSA. It means Case A is knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Bloom's revised taxonomy. There are 6 levels of cognitive learning according to the revised version of Bloom's taxonomy. Each level is conceptually different. The 6 levels are remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So this is the Bloom's revised taxonomy. From LOTS to HOTS. LOTS is a lower order thinking skills, and HOTS is a higher order thinking skills. In LOTS or lower order thinking skills, are remembering, understanding, and applying. Remembering is recalling information, recognizing, listing, describing, retrieving, naming, or finding. In understanding, it's explaining ideas or concepts, interpreting, summarizing, paraphrasing, classifying, and explaining. In applying, using information in another familiar situation, like implementing, carrying out, using, and executing. In higher order thinking skills are analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Analyzing is breaking information into parts to explore understanding and relationships. In analyzing, it's comparing, organizing, deconstructing, interrogating, and finding. In evaluating is that justifying decision or course of action, which are checking, hypothesizing, critiquing, experimenting, and judging. And the last is creating, in which generating new ideas, products, or ways of viewing things, designing, constructing, planning, producing, inventing. So this is the Bloom's revised taxonomy. First, let us discuss about remembering. Remembering, it is the definition of remembering is to retrieve, recall, or recognize relevant knowledge from long-term memory. This involves recalling or recognizing factual information such as names, dates, or definitions. Um, Appropriate learning outcome verbs for this level we can use for remembering of our objectives. You can use verbs for remembering: cite, define, describe, identify, label, list, much, name, outline, quote, recall, report, reproduce, retrieve, show, state, tabulate, and tell. The classroom rules for remembering and teacher rules. The teacher rules in remembering is the teacher, they are the one who directs, shows, questions, tells, examines, and evaluate. And the student rules in remembering is to responds, absorbs, describes, retails, define, and memorize. So these are the respective rules for teacher and students for remembering category. And the teacher, they are the one who give the direction, they are the one who show, they are the one who give questions to the students, and the teacher is the one who tells or telling about the lesson, and then they are the teacher is the one who examine their students and to evaluate the knowledge of the students. And the students' rules here is to respond to the teacher and absorb what teacher discuss to them. And then the students, they are the one who define and memorize it. Next is understanding. Understanding, it means demonstrate comprehension through one or more forms of explanation. This level requires comprehension and interpretation of information. It involves explaining ideas, summarizing concepts, or categorizing information. Appropriate learning outcome verbs for this level. We can use these are the verbs that we can use in understanding, which are abstract, arrange, articulate, associate, categorize, clarify, classify, compare, compute, conclude, contrast, defend, diagram, differentiate, discuss, and then distinguish, estimate, exemplify, explain, extend, predict, rearrange, reorder, rephrase, represent, restate, summarize, transform, and translate. These are the verbs that we can use in our objectives in the category of understanding. So, the classroom rules for understanding is in teacher rules, the teacher is the one who demonstrates, listens, questions, and examines, and the student's rules is to explain, describes, an active participant, and they are the one who interpret. Next is applying. Applying is use information or a skill in a new situation. Applying focuses on using learned knowledge and skills to solve problems or complete tasks in new situation. It requires transferring knowledge to practical situations. The appropriate learning outcome verbs is for this level to that we can use in our objectives in applying category, which are apply, calculate, carry out, classify, complete, compute, demonstrate, dramatize, employ, examine, execute, experiment, illustrate, infer, organize, outline, predict, solve, transfer, translate, and use. The teacher rules or the classroom rules for applying The teacher rules here is shows, facilitates, observes, evaluates. And the student's rules here is to solve problems. They are the one who compiles, illustrate, and perform. Next is analyzing. Analyzing, it means break material into its constituent parts and determine how the parts relate to one another and or to an overall structure or purpose. It means analyzing involves breaking down complex information into smaller parts to better understand its structure and organization. It includes identifying patterns, relationships, or causes and effects. Appropriate learning outcome verbs for this level include arrange, break down, categorize, classify, compare, connect, contrast, deconstruct, detect, diagram, differentiate, discriminate, distinguish, divide, explain, identify, integrate, inventory, order, organize, relate, separate, and structure. The classroom rules for analyzing. Teacher rules here is to probe, guides, observe, and act as a resource. And the student rules here is that think deeply, active participant, investigates, and inquires. Next is evaluating. It means evaluating make judgment based on criteria and standards. In evaluating involves making judgment or decision based on criteria and evidence. This level requires assessing the value or quality of ideas, theories, or arguments. Appropriate learning outcome verbs for this level include appraise, apprise, argue, assess, compare, conclude, consider, contrast, convince, criticize, critique, decide, determine, discriminate, evaluate, grade, judge, justify, measure, rank, rate, recommend, review, score, select, standardize, support, test, and validate. The classroom rules for evaluating. Teacher rules is to clarify, accept, guides, and the student rules here is that decide, select, justifies, and active participant. The last one is creating. Creating is put elements together to form a new coherent or functional whole or reorganize elements into a new pattern or structure. Creating is the highest level of Bloom's revised taxonomy. It involves generating new ideas, products, or solutions by combining existing knowledge and skills in innovative ways. Appropriate learning outcome verbs for this level are assemble, build, collect, combine, compile, compose, constitute, construct, create, design, develop, devise, formulate, generate, hypothesize, integrate, invent, manage, revise, rewrite, specifies, synthesize, and write. The classroom rules for creating. Teacher rules in creating category is to facilitates, extends, reflects, evaluates. Then the student rules here in creating category is design, creates, plans, and takes risk. I have here active verbs developed based on Bloom's taxonomy. I know that this this Bloom's revised taxonomy is very useful right now. It is because we are already make a lesson plan. So as you can see this picture, these are verbs that can we use in our objectives in lesson plan. We have here a knowledge, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. We can use them to have to provide a clear objective in our lesson plan and categorize of cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domain, the three domains of learning. So I provided an infographic design of Bloom's revised taxonomy for you to easily understand the Bloom's revised taxonomy. The first is remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, from lots to hats or low order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills. By this, you will you will easily identify, or you will easily to remember the Bloom's revised taxonomy. Therefore, by using Bloom's revised taxonomy, educators can design learning experiences that gradually progress from lower to higher order thinking skills. These help students develop a deeper understanding of the subject matter and encourages critical thinking, creativity, and problem-solving abilities. In summary, between Gagne's 9 events and Bloom's taxonomy, Gagne's 9 events instruction focus on the process of instruction, whereas Bloom's revised taxonomy focuses on categorizing cognitive skills. While they have distinct emphases, they can complement each other and be used in conjunction to design comprehensive and effective learning experiences. That's all, and thank you.